Well, as you know today, we're doing something called the Great Hip Hop Debate.
It's not often a person gets a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but that is what happened to 35-year-old Adam Bradley, a scholar of African American literature and an associate professor of English at the University of Colorado at Boulder. Bradley has just finished co-editing a book by the man who inspired him to become a writer and a teacher, the late Ralph Ellison, iconoclastic author of the award-winning The Invisible Man, and the only book published by Ellison during his lifetime. Now, 58 years later, Ellison's much-anticipated second book, 3 Days Before the Shooting, has been published with the help of a man who only dreamed of a chance to read Ellison's second novel, let alone play such an important role in bringing it to life.
It's a different experience to read the manuscript as assembled in 3 days before the shooting versus to read it in its various constituent parts scattered throughout these thousands and thousands of pages that make up Ellison's manuscript. We already have what is a pretty long book with 3 days before the shooting. It's 1,200 pages long, but he left 7, 8 times that amount of text, and all of that is part of my mind at this point.
It's been a part of his mind in one capacity or another since he was 19 years old. When Bradley was a student at Oregon's Lewis and Clark College, his professor, John Callahan, and co-editor of 3 Days Before the Shooting, noticed Bradley's scholarly infatuation with Ellison's writings and hired him as a research assistant. Callahan is the literary executor of Ellison's work and knew something had to be done with the material Ellison left behind. Soon, Bradley was handling pages of notes, computer printouts, and draft manuscripts from Ellison. Words and sentences, the bits and pieces of Ellison's creative mind that would become his second novel.
I feel such a closeness of, I love it. I love the book in that sense. I have such an attachment to it. I started working on it, after all, when I was 19 years old, before I really understood what literature was about. I was just coming to understand literature when I first read these raw materials from Ellison's second novel. So I'm excited to teach this and to have my students read it and to see how they respond.
Bradley is the author of 2 books on the poetry of rap music and is currently set to publish a 3rd book, Ralph Ellison in Progress, a critical study interpreting Ellison's work. As a writer, he understands how difficult it is to construct a novel. Words are tools, and he says Ellison was a master craftsman.
And I'm out here, this is a particularly fascinating situation where you can see Ellison adding a paragraph, just creating it as he's in the process of revision and deciding to stick this in to a certain portion of the manuscript. It's a lot of work. I mean, this is what Ellison talked about. He said fiction is a very stern discipline, and we see the discipline at work in these pages with him honing each and every sentence with such meticulous care. It's something that's a great inspiration, I think, to young people who are trying to be writers, that great writing is in rewriting. It's a simple fact, and it's a fact you see embodied in these pages.
And it's a fact you see embodied in Bradley's effort to understand a mentor he never met, but has come to know so well.
"What's this thing you have in here with it?" the white man said as he fingered a round rubber object. "That's a matter of the user and how he employs it."
Writer Oscar Wilde once said, "Life imitates art, far more than art imitates life." One could argue that is the case for Adam Bradley.
He arose in the spotlight. With his horn in one hand and the toilet plunger in the other, he started to sweat and tremble. And no wonder, because when folks on the dance floor saw him, they began laughing so hard he felt like a fool. But being a professional, he bowed and signaled the drummer to accelerate the rhythm and come to his aid. And once he got blowing and muting his horn with that plunger, the sound it produced was so thrilling that he brought down the house.